We are really excited to present an expert panel discussion on STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, education, and the important role it plays in our economic future, not only in the Tri-Cities, but in the state of Washington, our country, and the entire world. STEM continues to transform the Tri-Cities. Just earlier today, 2 hours ago, many of us attended a groundbreaking of the new Delta High School right here in Pasco. Since its founding, Delta has brought students from all parts of our area together under a curriculum that weaves STEM into every subject. It's amazing to see how much progress we've made so quickly. If we think all the way back to 2006, that was eight years ago, and I was still in my 40s. It was then that Battelle, CBC, WSU Tri-Cities, the school districts, Kennewick, Pasco, Richland, and the Washington State STEM Education Foundation formed a partnership to better our community. In 2009, Delta High School opened its doors with 100 freshmen. Since then, enrollment has grown, and just 1 year ago, they graduated their first ever class of seniors. In fact, they just graduated their second class a few weeks ago. I'd like to take a moment to recognize Annabeth Guzman, who has joined us today for our luncheon. Annabeth is from Pasco, and she graduated from Delta's class of 2014 with a 3.95 GPA, the highest GPA in her class. At Delta, there we go, she's standing here. Thank you, Annabeth. At Delta, Annabeth served as president of the Delta Ambassadors, a student organization that informs the community, teachers and students in our area about the great work at Delta High School. And next fall, she's headed to Gonzaga University to pursue a career as a nurse practitioner. Annabeth chose her career path after participating in one of Delta's many internship programs. She interned at the Tri-Cities Cancer Center and the Benton Franklin Health District, where she gained hands-on experience helping patients in our community. And Annabeth is joined by Jenny Rodriguez, who is Delta's principal, and Jenny is here as well. And both of you, if you could please stand again, we'll recognize both of you. Thank you so much for joining us today. And Annabeth, you are a shining example of success that can come from opportunities that STEM has to offer in our region. Congratulations on all of your achievements so far, and best of luck in your future endeavors to come. I should also note that Delta's first ever graduated class, 96% of their graduates went on to a university, community college, trade school, or to serve our country and our military. Of those that went to college, 87% chose to continue their education here in Washington, and the remaining graduates chose to serve through various faith and civic missions. We can truly be proud of the young people right here in our community. The new Delta High School, which is set to open in August of 2015, ensures our community will continue to be a leader in the innovative age in which we live. Imagine the next generation of Tri-Citians that excel in STEM, graduate and go on to college at WSU, Tri-Cities, or at the University of Washington, and come back to create technologies our brains can't even imagine today at PNNL. The first steps to the economy of tomorrow will happen right here in our own backyard. The future is closer to reality than we might think. This is why we're so excited to host this program today. Today's luncheon is sponsored by Basin Pacific, and we greatly appreciate their support of today's event and of the Regional Chamber. Their sponsorship includes the opportunity to speak about their organization, and representing Basin Pacific today is Brad Toner, Managing Partner. Please help me welcome Brad.
Good day. I honestly have to say I was not expecting this many people, but we'll get through this. What I wanted to do today was give you a little bit of our history, also talk about some of our capabilities, and then really delve in and let you know what our values and our team is all about. And anyway, Basin Pacific was started really back in 2010. It really started with a dream of my partner, Todd Halderman, with Pacific Crest Planning. And Todd at that point in time wanted to form an organization that could provide insurance, benefits, and planning services to their clients. And so that dream evolved into what we have today. So the second phase of that was we became affiliated with Basin Insurance Associates out of Moses Lake. And Basin Insurance brought a lot to our team in the fact that we brought a considerable amount of insurance markets and also brought us an agency management system that we could take advantage of. We started in 2010 really in September, and from there to date we now are at 11 people, so we've grown very rapidly. Also, I wanted to show you the size of Basin Insurance. Basin Insurance operates 15 offices in 3 states, and each one of these offices is owned separately, but we're all affiliated together so we can take advantage of a market size and various affiliations. In a new branding effort, what we're doing is combining the 2 names of Pacific Crest and Basin Insurance to come up with Basin Pacific, and that is the new name. This name came about because we needed to get licensed in California. We do business in 4 states currently, actively, and so we needed to get licensed in California. California has some real difficult licensing requirements, and one of them, so to come up with a name, we just we were bandying around either Pacific Basin or Basin Pacific. We all like Basin Pacific. That's what we settled on, and then coincidentally a year later, the whole company decided they wanted to change their name. When we asked everybody about Basin Pacific, all the other offices said, "Yeah, we like the name," so that's what we're currently doing. Our focus particularly is on agriculture. We do a lot of vertically integrated ag along with crop insurance. We also work with a lot of Native American tribes and their enterprises, and we do that in 4 states. We do large commercial, small commercial, personal lines. The other thing we do a lot of is nonprofits. We currently work with over 20 nonprofits, STEM being one of those nonprofits we work with. Also the Boy Scouts, Grace Clinic, some of those that you're familiar with. The other thing that we do that's kind of unique is we have some interesting skill sets within our organization, and so we make ourselves available to other agencies throughout the Northwest. And so currently we work with about 8 other insurance agencies in the Northwest. So when they need things and have needs that we can fulfill, we work with them, and then we share commissions and make sure that their clients get taken care of. So I think that the most interesting thing about our organization, the thing I'm most proud about, is our values, our culture, and our people. We value the family. All of our agents are family people. We operate as a team. We put service first. We're all very professional and knowledgeable. And the one thing we have is that we want to bring the services of a national broker with the service and care of a local agent, and we're on our way to doing that. Our culture and our mission statement says that we want to be a sales and service organization, with sales and service being one word. We're a team, and we're also servants, not only to our clients but to our fellow teammates. And about a year ago, Carl Cadwell put on a sales little program. It was about a book called The Perfect Plan, and it was very interesting. In that book was the fact that a gentleman had been commissioned to search out the best salesmen in the world, and the one thing that they found that was similar, no matter whether you culture, language, or whatever, was that the top salesmen in the world didn't consider themselves to be salesmen. They considered themselves to be servants, and they serve their clientele. And so we're really actively modeling that. Real quick, I know I'm running short on time here. I do want to do some introductions. We've got a lot of our team here today. Loli Famasili, if you can remember that name, he's our crop guy. Dave Howler is one of our benefits specialists. Dave just recently passed the test to become a national accredited, well, I can't remember what the name of that thing is. Anyway, he's an expert in the Affordable Care Act, let's put it that way. Stacy Frank next to him is our account manager in the benefit, does an awesome job. Jolene Johnson, who most of you know because she knows everybody in the Tri-Cities, also does benefits for us. Chris Zumhoff, some of you know his dad, Daryl Zumhoff, a longtime farmer's agent. Chris has been with us for about a year now and does an awesome job. My son, oldest son, Justin, my youngest son, Josh, also works with us, but Justin handles a lot of large commercial and travel business with me. My partner, Todd Halderman. And then we get to the two bosses, the real bosses, my wife of 36 years, Debbie, and my associate, Glenda Simonson, who's worked with me for 23 years. Thank you.
Today we have an exciting update from Danette Lane, who's the chair of our Good Health is Good Business Committee, to talk about this year's program. So please help me welcome Danette Lane.
Well, thank you, Lori. It's the third year that I've been working with the Chamber on this program, and the second year that I've been the chair for the Good Health is Good Business program. And I will guarantee you that we're not supporting the couch potato setting here today, and we don't have meetings like that. We're required to run to these meetings and do some sit-ups and push-ups. No, we're not. We invite you to come on our committee. We have a great group of passionate chamber members on the committee this year, and we're excited to announce the opportunities for your business, for your employees, and your coworkers to participate in the third annual Good Health is Good Business program. The Good Health is Good Business program is a comprehensive health and wellness program coordinated by the Tri-City Regional Chamber with other community partners and health experts. Now, the goal of the program is to encourage you, businesses and organizations in our community, to promote a healthy work environment and to inspire individuals towards a healthier lifestyle. The program is built around 100 days of focusing on health and wellness, and it includes things like 3 different challenges that you can participate in. We have 3 interactive events. For example, we will be hiking Badger Mountain together as a community on August 28th at 6 a.m. Get out your phone, put that date in there. August 28th, 6 a.m., a Badger Mountain hike. We will also have some grand prizes for our winners, some giveaways, and this year we're adding some fun opportunities to compete with your coworkers, your friends, or your family as a team. It's a fun way to partner with others while we're working on our health and wellness goals. So on behalf of the committee and the Tri-City Regional Chamber, I invite you and your employees or your coworkers to join us in this year's Good Health is Good Business program. On Tuesday, July 1st, you can download some applications off the Chamber website, or you can sign up next month at the Network TriCities Luncheon, where we'll be kicking off the Good Health is Good Business program and our 100 Days of Wellness. Now, you don't have to have a fancy or elaborate wellness program at your worksite now. In fact, if you're looking for information about how to start a worksite wellness program at your business, please share your business card with me or one of the Chamber staff members at the end of the luncheon today, and our committee will get something sent out to you in the next week. Again, more information about the program is on the Chamber website, more information about how to register, and we look forward to your participation and your promotion of healthier work environments and healthier lifestyles in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Danette, and thanks again for agreeing to be our committee chair. Boy, I thought our board meetings were early. We have 7 a.m. board meetings and a few other committee meetings, but when I heard they wanted to hike Badger Mountain at 6 a.m., I kept thinking it was 6 p.m., but we have a very, very ambitious committee, so I hope you all come out and join us. So before we get to our program, I would like to announce our June's Outstanding Member of the Month, which is Lamson International. The Awards and Recognition Committee selected Lamson International not only for their commitment to the Regional Chamber through their 28 years of membership, but also to their support of the entire community. Lamson is so community-focused, from their involvement in the annual Cable Bridge Run to the water follies, the installation of the 9/11 Memorial at the Southridge Sports Complex, and their donations to the Regional Chamber's upcoming River of Fire Festival. It's really hard to find a month, sometime during the year, that Lamson isn't contributing to the community in some way. We'd also like to recognize their support of STEM education, as they recently visited Finley Elementary to educate students about local jobs that utilize science, technology, engineering, and math skills. So accepting the award today on behalf of Lamson International is Peter Lamson, owner of Lamson International. Peter? All right, thanks again. Lamson is such a big, important part of our community. Everyone there, please send our regards back to your entire team. So now it is my pleasure to turn the program over to Rene Vasquez, who is the chair of our board of directors, and he's going to lead us through the rest of our program. Rene?
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the meeting today. Thank you, Lori, very, very much. Appreciate that. And I am Rene Vasquez, this year's board chair for the Chamber of Commerce, and it's my pleasure to be addressing to you today. We have a great program on tap for today that's coming up shortly. I'm really excited to learn more about the STEM education, and I hope you are as well. Recent studies show that Washington State has a strong STEM heritage and that is expected to keep growing in the next decade. To meet that demand, we'll need to empower our students with knowledge and tools for success. STEM does exactly that, and our panelists will have a great insight on how we can make that happen. But first, I would like to welcome Elizabeth Holt, the Chamber's Membership and Marketing Director, to the stage to present membership plaques to our newest members. Elizabeth?
Hi there. We'd like to welcome some of our newest members to the Chamber who are able to join us today. If I call your name, please come to the front and see Rene. He'll give you your membership plaque and we'll pause for a picture. So first of all, we have Hector Rodriguez with Fiesta Mexican Restaurant, Jim Austin. Sorry, we'll applaud at the end. Jim Austin and Pete Fournier with Schnitzer Steel, Julie Reiswig with Legal Shield, Luann Davis with Colonial Life, Tamara Ralston with Service Alternatives, Paul Dowdy and Kazu Sonoda with Heritage University. Please join me in welcoming these new members to the Chamber. So if you see them out and about, make sure and say hi and welcome them. We're also excited to announce some of our Chamber's longest standing members. The following members have been members of the Chamber for over 20 years. First one is our Member of the Month, Lamson International, Columbia Industries, West Door Jewelry, Red Egg Osborne Forget, TriCities Community Federal Credit Union, KNDU TV, Granite Construction, Apollo, Hills Restaurant, Overturf Motors, TriCities Battery, B&B Express Printing, CKJT Architects, Coca-Cola, Rogers Surveying, Shelby's Floral, Sport House, and TriCities Water Store. Thank you to our long-standing members. Let's give them a round of applause as well. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you, Elizabeth, and welcome to all of our new members. Well, now we are ready for our featured presentation. As Lori mentioned, STEM education has played an important part in shaping our community. Our history is rooted in scientific innovations that brought World War II to an end, carbon-free electricity to our homes, medical advances that save lives, and countless more opportunities for our children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. We know that our region is the fastest growing in our state, one of the fastest growing in the entire country. But as we grow, we must continue to adapt to an ever-changing world to make sure that our boom doesn't bust. Reinforcing the value of STEM is an excellent investment in that future, and in a community with 2 counties, 4 cities, 3 ports, multiple school districts, and on and on. It's great to see everyone united in strong support of efforts like Delta High School and STEM education. The Regional Chamber would like to thank Deb Bowen, Executive Director of Washington State STEM Education, and Patrick D'Amelio, CEO of Washington STEM, and both of them are here today, and we greatly appreciate their partnership to make today's program possible. We'd also like to welcome the many other leaders from the STEM community who have joined us today. Please note that after our event concludes, there will be a networking opportunity in this room to interact with the panel participants and local STEM advocates. Anyone is welcome to participate. It'll be a great chance to learn more about STEM and to ask questions. At this time, I would like to invite our moderator, Mike Kloos, Senior Vice President of Battelle and Director of Pacific Northwest National Lab. I'd like to invite him to the stage so he can lead us in the panel discussion. Mike?
Well, good afternoon. This is a great day for the Tri-Cities, STEM Day in the Tri-Cities. as Lori mentioned, we just came from the groundbreaking for the new Delta High School over in Pasco. And Sandra Hill, Sandra's here somewhere. Sandra, you did a marvelous job of organizing and running just a beautiful ceremony, and we're really excited about what's happening at Delta High School. Thank you. You know, it's really gratifying to see our chamber, our distinguished panelists, all of you, advocating for the importance of education in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. You know, at P&L, STEM expertise is crucial for accomplishing our missions in energy, environment, science, and national security. More than a third of our staff, so roughly about 1,500 people, are scientists or engineers. And most of the staff that support them, from our finance people to our graphics artists, they need at least some level of knowledge of basic science and engineering concepts to effectively carry out their professional responsibilities. And certainly from our perspective, it's not just about filling the pipeline of talent for the laboratory. It's about assuring that everyone has some basic literacy in the STEM fields so that all of us can make very informed decisions, ranging from how we use energy in our homes to what medical treatments we choose to take. We all need to be prepared for the challenges of the 21st century. And that's why, much like all of you here today, we are very committed to science and technology education in the community, in the state, and really in the nation. As you know, we worked with many of you that are here today to launch Delta High School, which graduated second class of seniors this month. Those graduates are now better prepared to address the challenges of the 21st century. And as I said, we just had the opportunity to break ground for the new high school building in Pasco. In addition to Delta High School, last month we joined with three organizations, Delta High School being one, the MESA program, which targets underrepresented students in science, and the LASER program, which brings inquiry-based science to TriCities schools. We partnered with those three organizations to launch a new effort called Mid-Columbia STEM Education Collaboratory. And this is the idea of Jeff Estes, who is with us. Jeff, where are you? Raise your hand. Jeff leads our education programs and has been behind the scenes in so much of what's been done here in the Tri-Cities to elevate science and technology education. So the collaboratory is getting the community more involved in science education. In fact, the group already has hosted 3 hands-on computer coding and engineering events for students and families. And so P&L and Battelle have also worked with Columbia Basin College to launch its first Bachelor of Applied Science degree in cybersecurity, a field that's very, very important to all of us today. And it will graduate its first class this year. And like everybody in this room, our employees are passionate about volunteering for STEM education activities here in the community. This means thousands of hours each year doing everything from leading classroom robotics programs to serving as math coaches. So it's really exciting to see that others in the community are moving ahead with the STEM vision. And as another example, the Pasco School District announced its plan to open its first STEM elementary school this coming fall, and there are 2 others to follow. So we're making great progress here in the community, but even with that progress, there's too little supply to meet the STEM job demands. So let me kind of illustrate this for you briefly. In the past 10 years, growth in STEM jobs nationwide has been 3 times greater than non-STEM jobs. And in Washington State alone, we'll have a 24% increase in STEM jobs by 2018. But here's the real gap. Today, more than 23,000 STEM-related jobs go unfilled in our state because workers don't have the required skill set. And in the next 4 years, that number is projected to jump to 45,000 unfilled jobs. So the same thing is happening across the nation, and businesses and other organizations are really hurting for employees with the STEM skills. So while we're making progress, there's still a significant gap. And that's what brings us to why we're here today. And what can we all do to make sure that our students and those teaching them, in fact, are prepared to lead in tomorrow's economy? Be prepared for those challenges of the 21st century. And that's what we'll hear from our panelists today. So at this point, let me begin to introduce our panel. First is Senator Sharon Brown. Senator Brown represents the 8th Legislative District, covering the cities of Kennewick, Richland, and West Richland. She represents us in the Washington State Senate. She was first appointed to that position in 2013, and prior to that, served on the Kennewick City Council, where she rose to the position of Mayor Pro Tem. Our second panelist is Clarence Dancer Jr. He serves as STEM Program Supervisor for the Office of the Superintendent of Public Instruction in Olympia. Clarence has been involved in STEM education for over 20 years, spending 8 of those with the City of Seattle's engineering department. He left the department to begin his career in education in the Seattle Public School District. And while there, he joined the STEM outreach efforts of Seattle Mesa, Mathematics, Engineering, Science, and Achievement, a program that he was once a student of himself. Clarence. And our third panelist is familiar to many of us here in the room, Chris Johnson. Chris is president of the Association of Washington Business, which is Washington State's Chamber of Commerce and premier advocacy organization for the business community. Chris was named president of AWB in October after spending 3 years as AWB's vice president of operations. Prior to that, he was president of the St. Paul Area Chamber of Commerce in Minnesota, and before that served as president and CEO of the TriCities Regional Chamber of Commerce. Chris, thank you. Okay, so I'll start by asking our panelists a series of questions here, and hopefully we'll leave some time at the end for the audience to ask some questions. So, panelists, when you first heard about today's event, what made you excited to be here to discuss STEM education? Senator Brown, we'll start with you.
For me, it was, can everybody hear me? For me, it was actually seeing the dirt turn today. It was a culmination of the past couple of years of really working hard to educate people, no pun intended, about what STEM education is all about.
Thank you. Clarence?
Hello?
You're good.
First, thank you for inviting me. I'm very humbled to be here. I think my excitement is coming from Seattle. Most of the work that I've done has been in Seattle. And since I started in April, I've been out here in the Tri-Cities 4 times already. So I'm excited to see what is going on, the energy that's out here, and to have the opportunity to share the knowledge that I have.
Good afternoon. I think it's great to be back in Tri-Cities, and it's great to be back on STEM Day. I was sharing this morning. If you think about what Tri-Cities looked like 20 years ago, and you think about what it looks like today, the words innovation, technology, all come to mind. And so for me, this is an exciting conversation as we talk about what does the next generation of workforce look like. And for employers, how does that help them grow their companies and help them be more successful? So I'm looking forward to it.
Great. Thank you all. So, Chris, you mentioned this, and I'm going to turn it into a question, a 2-part question for all of you. So, what does a 21st century employee look like? And are our schools prepared to educate this employee for the future? Chris, I'll start with you.
So we hear from employers across the state that as they look to replace their current workforce, that there's no doubt whether it's a high school degree, a GED, a certificate, a 2-year degree, or a 4-year degree, that there's got to be strong components in STEM. The requirements to perform the positions have changed dramatically. They're looking for an educated, a trained, and skilled workforce that can operate in today's environment with the appropriate STEM and education skills that are there. So whether it's working at Boeing and putting planes together, whether it's working at Microsoft and developing new technology to help us all be more successful, they have a clear importance on STEM and STEM degrees.
Clarence?
I would say that person looks like someone who is a problem solver, okay, who can manage multiple disciplines. When you take the acronym of STEM, you have the 4 pieces to it. And what it really does is it all goes together. It ties together with the understanding that I can utilize all this knowledge, all these principles to solve a particular problem. And so we can no longer allow students to say they don't do math, or I can't do math, or math is difficult. or I don't do science, or science is for the nerds, science. We have to get to a place where people who come out of our education system realize that science, technology, engineering, math is for everyone, and we all need to be engaged.
Senator?
Mike, you answered that question a little bit in your opening remarks with regard to your particular corporation. You need to have employees that are cross-trained, that understand the disciplines amongst themselves when they're teaming to move the project forward. And in the legislature, we're putting additional resources toward schools so that kids can be better prepared and the teachers can better prepare them for what's to come.
Good. So it sounds like we have a little bit of work to do in our schools in terms of preparing them to educate this employee of the 21st century. I think you'd all agree with that, correct? Yes. Okay. So I think you answered this, but let me ask it explicitly. Do you believe that STEM only pertains to the high-tech jobs? And how can STEM education benefit all jobs locally and across the state? Clarence, go ahead. Okay. Start with you.
Again, I look at STEM not as separate entities of science, technology, engineering, math. I look at it as a way of thinking, as a process of how do I see a problem, solve a problem. And I think as we begin to engage students in the project-based learning type style, you can take that understanding of problem solving into any field, anything that you do. So it's really important that we utilize the skills that are being learned through STEM and creating a stronger employee when we do that.
I think it's important to have an understanding of kind of where's the workforce at today as we talk about STEM. Recognize that the baby boomer generation is the longest and biggest generation we've ever had. That 10,000 people a month have been turning 50 years of age. 6,000 people a month have been retiring. So as we talk about, we're on the workforce crisis really right here, and STEM couldn't be more important about being part of that solution going forward. So if you're Boeing and you're a machinist, you have to know how to calibrate the equipment you're working on. If you're working for Taylor Shellfish Farm, you got to make sure that the shellfish are bacteria-free, and these all require STEM components. And so a multidisciplined, full experienced professionals required at all types of levels of the workforce today, and our employers are telling us that time and time again.
And you asked, what is that individual going to look like going forward? As you mentioned, we have 23,000 jobs unfilled in this state alone. If we were able to fill those jobs, we'd have $720 million in tax revenue that would be generated as a result of that. And that's where we need to head.
Great. Thank you all. So we talked a little bit about the gaps. Senator Brown just mentioned what it is here in our state, but it's even worse than that. A recent study by U.S. News and World Report shows a growing STEM crisis really in our nation. Again, demand's growing faster than supply of STEM graduates. So why do you think as a nation we've fallen short? Who wants to start?
I'll start. I think part of it is we've got to excite young people about the jobs and the careers that are out there. There are some exciting careers, whether they're in manufacturing, technology, and there are groups of our population that don't come with them. We have to excite young women about why it's important to have education and math and training so they can take over the scientists and be a part of our development workforce. We've got to cite disadvantaged students to say, here's an opportunity for growth for your family. And so I think we've got to get back to talking about some basics as part of a country. I think about engineering, and Steve Anderson is here from Meyer, and I told this story this morning. Boeing alone, let alone the National Lab and others, has a crisis about engineers. Boeing alone needs 10,000 engineers by 2020. This state produces 552, I believe, granted degree slots in this state to fill engineers. So how do we solve it? We have a crisis on our hands, and we've got to get ahead of that issue.
For me, from the educational side of things, I think there has been a long-standing fear of math. And that fear has kept us behind over time. Okay? And so for me, it's about getting over that fear and getting students engaged mathematically so that we are graduating enough students from high school, enough students who, when they do graduate from high school, are prepared for college. And when they're prepared for college and they don't have that fear of math, now they're going into college looking at potentially going towards STEM degrees. I think that's one aspect of it. Another piece that I've noticed is access. So when you talk about a lot of these jobs over time, you have to have secondary schooling. You have to have some sort of post-high school education, right? And so when we see more and more of our students who are not pursuing, especially students who come from either rural or underserved areas, are not pursuing education out of high school, they're automatically cutting themselves out of these opportunities. And so how do we at a K-12 level better prepare our students to go into college, or is the conversation that we better prepare our students so that we look at them when they leave high school that they are ready to enter into this job market? Is that where we start to change course? That maybe we don't say you have to go to college, and I'm not saying don't go to college, but do we better prepare our K-12 students for these opportunities?
Thanks. Sharon.
And from a legislative perspective, what we needed to do and what we did last session is pour more resources into the Opportunity Scholarship for those lower class and middle class folks to be able to have the opportunity to pursue these degrees, which are typically more expensive to achieve.
Well, thanks. So do y'all believe that our teachers in our schools are really prepared to educate this employee of the 21st century? Or do we need some fundamental changes? Go ahead.
Hopefully I don't lose my job on this one already. I just got here. No, in a nutshell, to answer your question, I think we have very strong, very capable teachers, okay, sprinkled throughout the state. When you talk about do we have an education system that is ready today to march out students that are ready, I don't think so. Because I think we're still, as a community, as business, as industry, and even as education, still trying to wrap our head around what does it mean to be STEM ready? What does it mean to be a STEM student? So I think we have to work on how teachers become certified and then their continued professional development, which we're doing right now, and then do these schools have the resources to provide students with these opportunities?
Well, I think Olympia needs to take a look at the Tri-Cities because we're doing it right here. We have a tremendous collaborative effort here with the National Lab, with MSA, with Lockheed, working in our schools, and certainly that's what helped to bring Delta into reality. And I think we need to continue to capitalize on those collaborative efforts.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say, along with the fact that I think it comes about expectations. We have to talk about being college and career ready. And that means as we look at our system today, unfortunately, we have just too many folks taking remedial classes when they hit community colleges or four-year universities. And so we've got to have our students ready. It's a pipeline. And so we have to start early and work our way through.
I'm glad you mentioned college and career ready. I know the roundtable it's an education committee. They've been talking about, they say it the other way, career and college ready, because they don't want it to be interpreted as kids have to go to college. Our students all have to be better prepared for the challenges of the 21st century, whether they go to college or not. So thank you for that. So I'm going to ask like two more questions and then let the audience jump in. So each of you come from different areas of interest. And if you could lead your field in just one action item to improve STEM education, what would it be? So Senator Brown, from a state government perspective.
Continued involvement by my peers and educating them about the need for this and the need to continuously pour the resources into STEM education. But I'd like to say that we really need to get more people here and understand what Delta High School is all about, because Delta High School is not just for the 4.0 student. And we need to engage those kids that might have fallen through the cracks. And that's the piece I like to take back to Olympia with me.
Great. And Clarence, from the education community.
So Senator was right on. You all are doing it right. And so for me, it's not about recreating. It's about who's doing it right and how do we almost carbon copy this throughout the state. And that's what I want to expand on and take back.
Chris, the
Yeah,
business community.
Yeah, I think from the business community perspective, and we've known this as TriCities, we do so many things right. But it's through collaboration and partnerships, whether it's the Pasco School District partnering with the employer community, partnering with CBC, partnering with WSU. We have a unique way of doing things in TriCities, and that needs to be shared on the west side of the state, because at the end of the day, we have so many success stories. And so I think from a business perspective, we also have to encourage our folks to spend more time getting into the classroom, working with the education system, and inspiring the next generation of workforce.
Great, great. I think at this point, how about if I open it up to the audience for some questions? Because I think these panelists have done a marvelous job of really covering the waterfront about the opportunities before us, the challenges, and all that's being done here being appreciated as kind of a role model for the rest of the state. So let me open the questioning up to the audience, and I would tell you anything's fair game because they're going to answer the questions. I saw a hand in the back.
So I was also at the groundbreaking this morning, and my question is there any action or discussion concerning bringing STEM into existing schools? Delta will serve, 100 new students coming in?
I can talk to that a little bit, because when I went to do the capital request for the $5.4 million, our capital budget chair said, but this doesn't fit in a box. Where am I going to put this for this request? He said, it's a collaborative effort. You've got private business, you've got the government involved. He said, it just doesn't fit anywhere. So we really do need to do a better job of educating people about the potential benefits of having STEM education and continue that dialogue going forward.
I think there's always a need for a school like Delta, but what we are doing on the state side is we're looking at how can we incorporate different programs within schools that can provide that opportunity for students to engage in STEM practices within schools without having to create necessarily a STEM school, but create these programs within schools that already exist. And so we're working on that, and like I mentioned earlier, we're working on the professional development for our teachers to start to incorporate more. If you're teaching math, how do you get science in there? How do you get these other disciplines in there so students are being more exposed?
Let me add one item here. When we started in 2006 talking about Delta High School, we always talked about it as a small school with a big footprint. And as Senator Brown mentioned, this was never intended to be just targeted on the 4.0 students. I mean, they can take the advanced placement courses in the existing set of high schools, really for those who would otherwise potentially get lost. But the concept all along was that the teachers could come to Delta High School, they could create new approaches to getting students excited about science, engineering, and mathematics, then ultimately go back to the big schools. So we always planned on this large leverage effect based on what was learned and developed at Delta High School to really extend that footprint beyond the immediate Delta School. Did I get that right, Sandra? Is it okay? Okay. Okay, another hand. Deanna.
Good afternoon. One of the keys of this program is sustainability. So if one of our key issues is developing educational force to support teaching or mentoring the next generation, where is funding sources? What's a 10-year vision on funding sources besides grants for us to continue to perpetuate this, especially developing the educators?
Is that me again? Well, that is another good question. And this is honestly the way it has to work. It's not going to be government funded. It has to come from community and local businesses. They have to get engaged. And having opportunities like TriCities Chamber of Commerce, where you can come and get involved if you're not. To make this real, everyone has to participate. And I don't have any other answer than that.
I think, Todd, to your question, I think you're going to see more and more what are called P3s, public-private partnerships that are going forward. The models that work best are around collaboration and partnership, where the community, both the community, the business community, and the parent community understand the value of coming together to produce that next workforce. If you think about the average age of most school districts, they are also on that end curve of having a pretty aged population as well. So I think a challenge for us is also to say, as the school districts go through transitioning their workforce, how do we make sure that their workforce can inspire and teach that next generation of standards?
And Todd, as a result of Delta High School, it's now on the radar of the legislators in Olympia, and they understand now that we do need that collaborative effort.
And that's probably not your fault, right? Just kidding. Thank you.
Well, you know, here locally we have the Washington STEM Foundation that Tom Yount is the president of right now, and its primary charge is to assure the sustainability of Delta and future STEM high schools. So, and that represents it's populated by a broad representation here in the business community. Back here.
Thank you. There are two of us here from the small town of Othello, small in comparison to the Tri-Cities. And I see what you've done here, if you can imagine dropping a rock in a puddle of water and the waves go out. We're going to have to rely on information that we get from you in order to convince our school districts even to do a small STEM project. We desperately need help with math and technology. We are limited in our health association by lack of trained IT people. So whatever you all can think of to help the small communities around you, perhaps you can have a group of people that we could call on to come and talk to our school boards. Thank you.
I think we're always glad to share lessons learned and best practices from this community. Absolutely. I see any other hands? Yeah, way in the back here.
I have two daughters that are going to the University of Washington, and they're in the computer science and engineering program. When they applied, they said there was over 360 applicants, and the University of Washington only accepted 60. This year, the incoming freshman class, 700 students have declared that they want to major in computer science and engineering. How are they going to address that when they're only accepting 60 students a year?
Okay.
Well, who wants to start?
I can jump in there. So prior to my role here, I was with the Seattle Mesa program. We were actually housed within the College of Engineering. And that they are doing work right now. There's always that line that they dance. And the challenge that they have is just not enough professors to open the door for more students. And so they're working on more funding to perhaps open more seats. That's not a good answer. I think they need to do more to address the need that this state has and to do a better job at opening up their doors and preparing students for these opportunities. I think they can be a leader in this realm when you're talking about access and opportunities. And I know they're doing work, but in my opinion, and hopefully I'm a UW alum myself, so, and I was one of the students. I wanted to do engineering as a UW student, and they actually accept 150 or so overall, and so I wasn't one of the 150. So I understand that aspect of not getting in, and I know work needs to be done, and I hope on my end, now that where I am now, I can do more as far as opening up more opportunities there.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say congratulations to your daughters, because that's just excellent, because we absolutely need more women in that field. And from a legislative perspective, what we're trying to do is dedicate resources towards STEM-related programs.
I think I would add a couple thoughts into this discussion. One is I know that UW is looking to double the capacity of the number of slots that are in there, but that only takes it to 300. and there's demand for 750 plus. I think we're going to have to encourage our education institutions to think bigger about solving the capacity constraints that are in there. And part of those constraints are regarding an industry that's exploding. Many folks know that Microsoft is obviously headquartered and based in Seattle. You may not know that Google has gone from 500 to 3,000 employees in the last 7 years in Seattle. You may not know that if you're a high-tech person right now and you're looking to buy a condo in downtown Seattle, that it's gone from where they can't give them away to the demand that's there. So there is a huge crisis for computer engineering and others, and we got to talk about the choke point, and the choke point is not demand, the choke point is the capacity on the output.
Great. So we have time for one more, maybe? Is there one more question? I see back here.
Good afternoon, Quantica Sparks with TriCities Leading Ladies. And my question is geared to also off of Proud Mom over there. My son also has been accepted to University of Washington into their medical program. The good benefit that he is going with is the education that he has received from Pasco School District, but also the parent engagement. We talk about a lot about the community and business relationship. But what is it that we are going to do to strengthen the parent engagement for our students that are going into STEM programs and incorporating STEM into our local schools?
Clarence, I'm looking at you.
Okay. That's very important, considering, especially if you talk about first generation or families from rural areas, who their parents may not have gone to high school, some of them, let alone graduate from high school. And so when you're talking about some of these fields, how do you engage a parent so that they're able to encourage their students? And I think part of it is understanding that all parents want to see their students succeed. So how do you give them the tools to help their students without necessarily needing to know calculus? And a lot of my parents fall into that realm where if I can't help them in their homework, then I'm no good to them anymore. But it's really about giving them the tools to be advocates for their students and getting them connected with local organizations that are doing college outreach to young people so that they can assist the parents in learning about how do I sign up my student, how do I register my student, how does a student take the SATs, what's the FAFSA, all these pieces that parents who may not have gone through the system don't know, but there's organizations out there that can support parents. And I would encourage, honestly, I would encourage the companies who are here today to open up more opportunities for students to have internships. And through these internships, students can also be stronger advocates for themselves and also provide support to the family. So it's not just about the parents getting engaged, but it's about how do you strengthen the student as well.
So one more.
Well, thank you, and good job. I've got a question and a concern, and that is, remember, we're in a bit of a squeeze here. Unfortunately, higher ed's been cut rather severely in funding for the last 5 years or so. And so I think they need to become more efficient. Maybe instead of a 4-year program, reduce it to 3-year. I don't have those answers. But my question is Delta going to coordinate with the higher ed? When those students graduate, they'll be able to go into a CC or a higher ed program efficiently and on a straight path instead of delays and credits and so forth being a problem?
Sandra? Can you help us here? Okay, the answer is yes. Anybody on the panel want to? Okay. I think it's an important issue, and certainly we've got to pay lots of attention to it.
And I think something else that Delta is doing with regard to providing that seamless integration, Terry, into maybe a 4-year or 2-year higher ed school is they're working a lot with community partners to educate the kids about the path forward and the opportunities that are available to them.
Terry, I think you raise a great question, and that's regarding accessibility and affordability. whether it's for first generations to go to college or in general. A reminder that if our average income in the state is about $52,000 a year, the cost of a full 4-year is about 128 grand. So we have to keep in mind the accessibility and the affordability portion of this equation.
So I think we're about out of time. I think we should all give our panelists a great round of applause. I think they did a marvelous job.
What a fantastic program. And Mike, I think you have another daytime job if you want to be a TV host or something. Great job. Thank you, Senator Brown. I enjoyed your company today and great discussion. I'd like to also thank Clarence and Chris for traveling today to join us. I appreciate you being here, and so does the Chamber. We're very fortunate to have such an outstanding group on the stage here. It was I looked over at Lori and said, that's an amazing group of people right there with great insight and great discussion. STEM education is an exciting topic that offers so much for the Tri-Cities and beyond. And right now, our community is at a crossroads, and we're faced with the question, what do we want our region to look like 20, 30, 50 years from now? And what do we have, or what do we want to leave behind? We've been blessed to have industries in our community for decades that made us a leader in innovation. But today's economy, it moves at an increasingly faster pace. And we're going to be faced with challenges, and we got to be ready for that. And I think that's what's happening. By the end of this year, the last of the baby boomers will turn 50, and they will be passing the torch to the next generation, the millennials, young adults and kids that have grown up in a world very different than the one that many of us have grown up in this room. Today's discussion reiterates the important role STEM plays in the future of the Tri-Cities and countless kids to come. STEM education is a necessary foundation to ensure a bounty of economic development and prosperity in our region. It's very exciting that the Chamber will be leading that charge. Very excited about that. But right now, I'd like to invite Lisa Nelson, our event director, to join me to give away our door prizes. Lisa?
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much to all of the member businesses who donate door prizes for our luncheons month to month. If you're ever interested in donating, please see me after the program. This month, we have a beautiful spring bouquet donated from Just Roses, Flowers, and More, and the winner is... It's Blinding Clean. I don't have a name on here, but Blinding Clean. Congratulations.
Thank you, Lisa, and thank you again to Basin Pacific, Todd and Brad. Thank you very much for sponsoring today's luncheon. Appreciate that. And the wonderful staff of the Pasco Red Lion for hosting us today. Thank you very much. Senator Sharon Brown, Clarence Dancer, Chris Johnson, and Mike Kloos for an awesome panel discussion. Charter Communications for filming and rebroadcasting this program across our region. And a sincere thank you to all of you for attending today's luncheon. Before we adjourn, I would like to remind everyone that our next Business Development University takes place at the Tri-City Business and Visitor Center tomorrow from 1 to 3. This month's topic is Secrets to Becoming a Stellar Professional, Sales Professional. Don't want to miss that one. Also, the Regional Chamber's 28th Annual River of Fire Festival will take place on July 4th at Columbia Park. So come out and celebrate with our community. This year's fireworks show will be the biggest and best display the Tri-Cities has ever seen. And I've been to just about every one of them in the past 55-ish years. The next Network Tri-City Luncheon will be Wednesday, July 23rd, and we'll kick off our 3rd annual Good Health is Good Business program. It's going to be a great event, and we look forward to seeing you there. Thank you all again, and we appreciate your time this afternoon. And remember, it's great business to do business with the Tri-City Regional Chamber members. Thank you, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.